everyone. Welcome to the Mother's Day edition of Dear Van. And happy Mother's Day, Prissy.
Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Now, today we want to look at financial pressures. So, we want to look at the sources of financial pressures. Now, we've identified two main sources of financial pressure. So, the first one being internal, that is internally generated in the marriage, and the one that is without, the externally generated ones. We'll look at that in the next episode. First of all, sometimes we go into marriage all happy and all jolly, but we are hit with circumstances that throw us off board. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's because we just did not plan for them. And those things bring about a lot of financial pressures. So, for example, there are things that could be planned, like where you want your children to go to school, for example. Mm-hmm. But sometimes they also end up generating pressures. Why?
Yeah, so sometimes you want to take your kids to a high-end school.
Right.
And maybe the fees you are paying is even more than your monthly salary or together.
Yeah.
But still, you want to send your kids because you probably have a friend who has kids going there.
Right.
They've recommended that school to you.
Yeah.
But then most of the times it should rather be based on what you have. If you can afford it, it shouldn't be forced.
Yeah.
Because there are equally good schools that may not be that expensive.
Exactly.
But then they bring out the best in your kids. So I think you should just plan ahead, like go around, look out for schools, ask people, like ask around, know which schools are moderate, and then you can just try them.
I think there was one thing you mentioned in some time past, that one key reason for these pressures is the lack of openness when it comes to finances. So, for example, one spouse or one party may be calling for the children to be sent to a particular school because he or she might think that, okay, my spouse is earning this much, exactly, and it might not be the case. So sometimes we bring unnecessary pressures on ourselves because we don't have that level of openness. I mean, and so you can't really plan.
People live with spouses that they don't know how much they earn.
Right.
And there's another way of thinking. I don't know where it came from, but there are some men who think that it's the duty of the man to bear all the expenses of the family.
Right.
So even when the wife is earning even more than that man, they will still want to do everything. And then there are also women who feel that my money is for myself and my family.
Exactly.
But not to take care of the family as in my external family, but not to take care of the family. And it's the role or the duty of my spouse to take care of us. And that also puts pressure on the man. So
And that brings to mind, there is this backward way of thinking. I mean, I've heard in several situations where people tell their girls who go into marriage or their ladies who go into marriage that if you go and things are okay, bring it to the family, as in the extended family. But if you go and things are not okay, then stay in your marriage with it, which I think is a very backward way of thinking. And when we go into marriage with such mindset, what happens is that then the two parties cannot plan for the marriage. They cannot look out for the good of the marriage because one party is looking out to send the goodies back home, as it were. Have you heard of such things?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also know of another reason for that pressure. There are also men who are so domineering.
Right.
They feel that if I let my spouse work and is earning a lot or more than me, not even more, but if my spouse works, especially in the case of women, she will not be submissive at home.
Right.
So they would rather their spouse stay at home
and become a housewife.
All their skills, not learn anything, so that they can trample on them. And that way
you put pressure on the marriage.
On your marriage, you know you can't take care of the family with just what you are earning. But because of pride, you want your spouse.
Pride, Right.
spouse to remain at home, and that also brings on some sort of pressure
Extra
on the
pressure.
finances. Yes.
Right, right. So yeah, it seems most of the self-inflicted pressures are things that we could actually review and do away with. I mean, then there is this pressure also that comes from comparing yourselves to other people, like Scripture says, and they comparing themselves to themselves are not wise. I mean,
Yeah.
in other words, they are fools.
Yeah.
So. Have you encountered
Yeah, so
some of those? Yeah.
I know of some.
Okay.
I'm not saying that having a marriage, like a group, a support system for marriage, I'm not
Okay.
saying it's bad, but then
Right.
sometimes the negatives of it is that some people go comparing their finances, like they take notes.
Oh, you
that-
mean when people join like
Yeah.
marriage groups, societies,
Yeah,
marriage?
so that they can encourage each other.
Okay,
Sometimes
okay.
it's the downside of it is
Yeah.
that they go comparing notes on how much chop money my spouse gives me.
Right.
And then
Right.
this person goes back home and it's like so and so gives a wife this amount and you are stingy.
Yeah,
even
you
do
are not
this for
man
me.
enough.
You don't
Yeah,
that-
you
you don't
can't-
do that for me.
Right.
And it's also brings about problems in the marriage.
Yeah.
So I think that we can pick all the good sides of those how do we call those groups?
Fellowships
yes.
or associations and
Yes,
all.
but
Yeah.
then we should be very mindful of some of the negatives.
The excesses
yeah.
it comes with. Yeah, right. Exactly. Because I think looking at all the things we've discussed, there are things that people can really sit down and deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, to ensure that some of the pressures are done away with. Because the economies across the world are not getting any much easier. I mean, so it will be good to sit down, plan, and then find ways to navigate all these pressures. So what we can do is to tackle the external pressures in our next episode next week. Let's leave people today to go and enjoy their Mother's Day celebration and all that. So thanks so much for staying with us, and if you are happy, if you are encouraged, kindly like our page, kindly subscribe to our page, kindly share. I mean, for others to also benefit from it. Thanks so much for staying with us. Always remember that no two relationships are the same. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.